It's hard to believe that the Xbox 360 just recently celebrated its 20th anniversary. I had enjoyed the original Xbox quite a bit, but the 360 showed up and became my go-to console for the better part of 8 years. So many fantastic titles, so many memorable experiences. It was the last time I cared about modern gaming to any significant degree. To celebrate that 20 years, I decided to do one definitive list of my favorite Sega games on the Xbox 360. These beauties are taken from both the digital and physical libraries, organized in a top 10 format for your viewing pleasure. Before we do that, I also have some honorable mentions we need to go over, a list of games that easily could have made the top 10 themselves. Let's waste no more time and get right to it. Sega's best on the Xbox 360. Nights into Dreams on the Xbox 360 was released in 2012 and is based on the re-release for the Sony PlayStation 2. It came with improved textures, resolution, polygon draw distance, and true widescreen support. It takes the joy of flying and makes it even prettier than the Saturn original. It even has Christmas nights and can be found on the PlayStation 3 as well. Sonic CD on the Xbox 360 was released in 2011 and was an enhanced remaster of the original Sega CD release. As a big fan of this game, I was delighted in the additions. It adds the traditional Sonic 2 spin dash, improved resolution, widescreen support, Tails is an unlockable playable character, and the bonus stages improve the smoothness of the scaling considerably. It has both the American and Japanese soundtracks as well. This was done by the Taxman, also known as Christian Whitehead, who was responsible for the incredible Sonic Mania. This got a PlayStation 3 release and is the version you see in modern compilations like Sonic Origins today. Virtua Fighter 2 was a marvel in the arcade, and the Saturn home port that followed was a technical feat. So when the Xbox 360 version came out in 2012, it was an instant purchase for me. Wow, did it look incredible! It was remastered in HD and ran buttery smooth. It had taken a while, but we finally had a better than arcade perfect version of this game at our fingertips. PlayStation 3 owners also received it, and I hope Sega eventually does remasters like this for more Model 2 games in the future, if not a full series of compilations. Like Virtua Fighter 2, Daytona USA got a HD remaster on the Xbox 360. This came out in 2011, and for the very first time, this game was available at home better than the arcade. Most notable here was the online multiplayer and the improved polygon draw distances for the tracks. It took an already good-looking game and made it even prettier. There were also some remixed music tracks here, and once again, you had the option of getting it on the PlayStation 3. In 2010, Sega ported over Afterburner Climax, a port of the Lindbergh arcade original from 2005. This took the idea of the original sprite scaling classic and amped it up with beautiful polygon visuals, even more speed, and a time slowing mechanic so you could punish your foes with pinpoint accuracy. The Lindbergh arcade system was PC based, so the port to the 360 turned out as good as you could have hoped. The HD presentation and performance look great, and it's my favorite version of Afterburner by a mile. Unfortunately, both the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions were delisted a few years later, with even the mobile versions getting scrubbed in 2021. I had tremendous admiration for the original Castle of Illusion games on the Master System and Genesis. When I saw it was getting a remake in 2013, I was a bit skeptical, but turns out it was one heck of a good game itself. This mixes 2D and 3D elements into a really fun platforming adventure. While it keeps a similar theme as the original, it adds tons of new things to do and see. There are big changes and additions to the stage and boss design that keep fans of the original guessing what they'll run into next. This was also on the PlayStation 3 at the time, and a modern PC version is available on Steam as of this video. Sega Rally Online was a 2011 Xbox Live Arcade adaptation of the arcade Sega Rally 3 and the physical Sega Rally Revo. It has very similar content and included the stunning Desert 95 track, which recreated the first leg of the original Sega Rally Championship. It's a gorgeous game with great performance, easily the best looking and running in the series. A PlayStation 3 version was also released, though all versions would eventually be delisted and unavailable for purchase. It seems anything that had licensed content, in this case real cars, is not meant to last long in the digital realm.
3, 2, 1, go! Easy right. Easy left. Easy right. Over jump.
First up is 2012's Anarchy Reigns. This was a joint venture between Sega and Platinum Games, a futuristic 3D beat-em-up that took the idea started in titles like Fighting Force and made them so much more appealing. The gameplay gives you a choice of 2 characters with 2 different playstyles and stories. Each area is open world style, where you can explore, choose different missions to take, or bash enemies to practice your moves. There's weak and strong attacks, weapons, vehicles, throws, and plenty more to keep you busy. Once you've exhausted the single player, you could jump onto Xbox Live multiplayer for even more characters and moves to learn. There's a number of favorites from the game Mad World here, and you can even unlock Bayonetta. I always felt this one deserved so much more praise than it got in the reviews of the era. It's true some of it can be repetitive, but for a beat 'em up, I think the action here feels fantastic. The rundown world is convincing, and there's plenty to see and do. The only real negatives are the performance and lack of campaign co-op, but otherwise, this was far better and more entertaining than many would have you believe.
Mutilation and madness, unseen, been seen, so many leaving
"2011 gave us one of the greatest gifts ever on the Xbox 360 in Guardian Heroes, an HD remaster of the Saturn beat-em-up classic. It's in proper widescreen, the slowdown is gone, and it has a new filter to smooth out those pixels. Treasure and Sega also cleaned up the English translation a bit and rebalanced the gameplay in a number of areas to improve the experience. The best part was the online multiplayer, which allowed me to run both the co-op and arena battles with my friends living in other states. Unlike most of the other titles on this list, Guardian Heroes remained Xbox 360 exclusive. Fortunately, this is backwards compatible for the Xbox One and Xbox Series X, and will only cost you $5 as of this video. Binary Domain lands in the number 8 spot and is a game that is greatly underrated. I'm not sure if it was the stiff competition it faced in 2012 or what, but this game deserves a lot more love. It was done by the same developers that did the Yakuza series, and is a third-person shooter with cover-based play mechanics. It's like a mix of Gears of War, Mass Effect, and Blade Runner. If that sounds cool, it's because it is. You and your team have to gun down an army of robots and their weapons of war. You forge a relationship with your team that can make or break your mission. I've read Sega didn't advertise this one, leading to many people not knowing anything about it. I recommend it wholeheartedly, and it's a must-own if you've never played it. I know having 2 Sega Rally games on here is a bit much, but I also enjoyed Sega Rally Revo. It was released in 2007, essentially a sister product to the arcade Sega Rally 3. It has beautiful graphics, track degradation, and a large assortment of real-world cars. It keeps the oval, lap-style arcade gameplay of the original, something that may turn you off if you're looking for a deeper experience. I enjoyed it though, and still play the PC version all these years later. The Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 versions were locked at 30 frames per second, a real head-scratcher since Sega Rally 3 was 60 frames per second. Of note is the PSP edition, which felt like an entirely different game and worth a look itself. Aside from the stupid name, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing was an incredible mashup from Sega's past. It was released in 2010, developed by the same people that did the home versions of Outrun 2 and its spin-offs, Sumo Digital. This was Sega's version of Mario Kart, a weapons-based racing game using a variety of Sega characters. It's pretty fun to see Ryo battling it out with Billy Hatcher. The stages were all inspired by different Sega games, including remixed music from those titles as well. A sequel was released soon after called Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, which can be easily swapped out here because it was pretty awesome itself. Both those games played great and had the graphics and sound to go along with it. Versions came out for pretty much everything, and they all have little content changes that make them worth a look. Sonic Team came along in 2011 with Sonic Generations, a mashup of different Sonic timelines where you must rescue your friends and find out what's going on. This mixes 2D and 3D gameplay into what was the best Sonic game I had played in years. It's got tons of cool boss fights, stages from classic Sonic games, and a soundtrack you never get tired of. I wish they had focused more on the 2.5D game instead of the 3D stages, and that auto attack nonsense, but it was still a fun ride. This was released on everything, so you have many options to play it. In 2014, Sega released Alien Isolation, the best game in that IP's history. It was played from a first-person perspective and is essentially a survival horror game at its core. You are Amanda Ripley, daughter of the iconic lone survivor from the original film. Looking for your mother, you run smack dab into a nightmare of your own. A xenomorph is loose on your ship, and it's hunting you. The alien is not your only adversary. You'll need to deal with androids and other humans in your quest. This was a white-knuckle thrill ride start to finish. The fear of making it from place to place was constant, and you were always worried of making noise to draw your assailant. As you completed tasks, you were always mindful of your environment, searching out areas to hide and ways to exit if things went sideways. It was a challenging and rewarding ride that horror fans cannot afford to miss. This was a cross-generational release, so it's on everything, even the Nintendo Switch.
Don't worry about me. I'm sure I'll see you very soon.
In 2009, Sega released Outrun Online Arcade, a pared-back version of Outrun 2 SP. It's missing the great additions from the OG Xbox port of Outrun 2, but they did provide a proper HD widescreen upgrade here. It is by far the prettiest console version of this game to date. Though missing a fair bit of the content from other Outrun 2 releases, it still has time attack, heart attack, and continuous course modes to play around with. The big addition here was the online multiplayer, which for a time was just about the best thing ever. Sadly, as with nearly all of the licensed content Sega makes, the deal with Ferrari expired, leading to this one getting delisted in 2012. Condemned: Criminal Origins takes this spot for its originality and sheer genius of game design. It was released in 2005 alongside the Xbox 360 itself, an early game that was easily missed beside the likes of Call of Duty 2 and Perfect Dark Zero. You are an investigator tracking down a serial killer known as the Matchmaker. You are thrown into turmoil when you are framed for murder and find everything you knew in life was wrong. Now on the run, you must defend yourself at all costs while solving the big mystery of who's behind it all. The draw to this one is its fantastically dark and ominous environments. You are roaming around areas filled with maniacs trying to kill you, and you often have nothing more than what's in your immediate area to defend yourself. The heavy focus on melee combat means you need to use your wits as much as brute force. You need to know when to block, which weapon is best in what situation based on its stats, and when to turn asshole and elbows for greener pastures. It's dark, scary, and highly inspired by a number of great films like Seven and Silence of the Lambs. I admit my fondness for this is likely due to its scary elements, but I really do think this is an excellent game. It gets a bit repetitive at times and it's quite linear, but the combat and atmosphere more than make up for that. A sequel would be released a few years later that I enjoyed as well, but the original here was something worth talking about at the 360's launch. Virtua Fighter 5 Final Showdown. This was released in 2012 and is a port of the arcade game done a few years prior. It is an upgraded edition of Virtua Fighter 5, now with loads more content like new outfits, online multiplayer, rebalanced gameplay, and an expanded tutorial to help newcomers. The original arcade was developed on a Sega Lindbergh, so the transition to the Xbox 360 was fairly smooth. It looks and runs great and was nearly as good as Virtua Fighter 4 in all-around fun factor. The only thing that sucked was that some of the additional content was locked behind DLC packs, but it was of little issue when the base game was this good. The modern Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown was largely based on this version of the game.
I assume you're ready.
Round one. Ready, go!
It was so sad to see Microsoft mess up so badly with the launch and messaging of the Xbox One. What should have been a smooth transition into another great competitor for Sony ended in total domination and gamers abandoning the brand in droves. I'm not really sure where Xbox goes from here as a gaming device, but I sure did love the 360 and everything it did right. It gave my friends and I a first-rate online multiplayer experience, and it was loaded with a number of must-play Sega releases. For those of you looking at some of these titles and thinking you may be interested in playing them, there are PS3, PC, and modern versions available for almost all of them. there's not a single stinker in the bunch, and I highly recommend you give them a shot. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.